Hey friends, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and today I am sharing with you my mom's cranberry Jell-O salad. Thanksgiving wouldn't be the same without this on the table. So if you want to see how to make it, stick around. Hey guys, can you believe Thanksgiving's almost here? I can't. Time is just flying by. Well, I was hoping to get a lot of our Thanksgiving recipes shared this year, and I've got several, but I guess it'll give me things to add in the future. One of the recipes that I really wanted to share with you, which is it's always on our table at Thanksgiving, and I was trying to think, how long have we been eating this fruit salad? And I think it was in the 80s that we started having this. So we've been going on 40 years of having this cranberry Jell-O salad on our Thanksgiving table. And you know, it wouldn't be the same without it. We really love this salad. I was talking to my mom on the telephone today, and I was asking her, where did you get this recipe? Because I had gone online and I had tried to find, this recipe, thinking, I wonder where it came from. Was it in a cookbook? Was it, the cranberry companies that made this recipe? And I could not find a recipe like it. So there are several that are close, but nothing just like this one. So I thought, I'd like to make this for you because it is such a good salad. You can have it year round. You don't have to just have it during the holidays. Cranberries are the only thing keeping you from making it, during the other times of the year. But I'm sure that you could freeze some cranberries and have them available. But this is an easy salad to make, and it's great to make the day before, and that way you don't have to worry about it. Normally, we make the full batch, which makes a bowl at least, it's to the top on this big bowl. And we managed to eat it all with the family and everything coming together. It's great to have, later in the evening when you're just a little bit hungry, or the next day when you're having turkey sandwiches. But I'm going to cut it in half today just because we're not ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. And right now it's just Andy and I in the house. This is something that I can't freeze. It's not something that we can store for a long period of time. So if I cut it in half, I think it should fit in this bowl right here, and it will be perfect for us. And if our boys come home this weekend, they can have some too. But it's a great one. I know a lot of people have jellied cranberries as a side, or a fresh cranberry sauce on the side. This is what we have on the side of our turkey, and it is good. So we're going to make this recipe, but we're not going to make it right here to start with. I'm going to take you over to the stove because we need to start out by getting these cranberries hot and popped so that we can add them to our cranberry Jell-O salad. So I'm going to take you over there and I'll show you how it's done. All right, so here we are at the stove. And in my pan, I have half a bag of cranberries. My bag was 12 ounces, I believe. So I've taken out half of it. It's about 2 cups, a little less than 2 cups. And to those cranberries, I've rinsed them off and picked out any that were soft. To that, I'm gonna add about a half a cup of water. I'm going to add a little less than half a cup of sugar. Now, if you're making the whole recipe, and I'll have the whole recipe posted, that's the recipe that I'll write up. It is a bag of cranberries, a cup of water, and a 3/4 cup of sugar, okay? And we're gonna get this hot and boiling, and we're gonna let these cranberries pop, and it doesn't take very long for that to happen. And I will also smash them a little bit to get the juices going, and we will have that ready for our salad. I'm going to add 1 small package of raspberry gelatin. Now, it can be sugar-free or it can be full sugar, just regular kind. It's up to you. Sometimes I use 1 sugar-free and 1 regular. Gelatin just has a lot of sugar in it, and you know, I consider a salad more healthy, so just trying to make it a little more healthy. So we're just gonna pour this, which is no sugar added gelatin, and we're gonna get that dissolving in there. Okay, and that should dissolve really well in that boiling water. So now the water's getting pretty hot, and we're gonna start hearing our cranberries start to pop. I already see them bubbling a little bit, and you can see the skin starting to split. As they get hot, I'm just going to give them a smash and just make sure that they're all, I just don't want to bite into a whole cranberry. They're pretty sour. So just trying to break them up a little bit. So when this is ready, I'll bring you back. Okay, it's only been a couple of minutes, and you can see it's boiling pretty good right now. I do have my burner up to high, and I'm just standing here because it doesn't take long. And they'll start popping, and then they start getting soft. So I'm just gonna start smashing them and getting some of that juice out and making sure we don't bite into a whole one. Now the cranberries will help thicken up this Jell-O salad. To a box of Jell-O, it's 2 cups of water and 1 box of Jell-O. And when you're making a Jell-O salad, usually you use a little less water because of all the fruit and things in it. But because we have the cranberries, it's going to help thicken it up as well. So I think that looks pretty good. And all of my Jell-O has dissolved, so we know that that's good. And so I'm just going to remove this from the burner and bring you back over to the counter. Okay, we got that. Brought that over, letting that cool a little bit. So while this is cooling down just a little bit, we're going to go ahead and get our fruit and everything mixed up into the bowl that we're going to be serving it in. And what I need to add here, the regular recipe calls for 2 to 3 cups of split grapes, just cut in half. And so I'm using about 1.5 cups. And you know, it's your preference as far as how much of the fruit you want to add, but we like the grapes in there, so you can add what you like. I'm just trying not to make it too big for the bowl. Then we're going to add some mandarin oranges. And I found these smaller cups of mandarin oranges since I'm making a smaller size dish. I thought instead of using the can, I would just buy these. We are going to drain the mandarin oranges and not use that juice. Now you can decide if you want to have sweetened, unsweetened, whatever you want on your fruit and the juices that they're in. And so let's see, let me see how much this is. This looks like about 1/4 cup of mandarin oranges, 1/4 to 1/2. Then here is our pineapple. Now on the pineapple, the recipe calls for crushed pineapple. Now I happen to have a family member, Andy, who does not like the texture of pineapple. He loves the taste, he loves the pineapple juice and stuff, but he doesn't care for the texture. So I'm not going to use crushed pineapple in here. You could use the tidbits, you could use crushed, you could use the chunks. I'm going to use the chunks because then he can pull out the pieces. Since it's just him and I want to make sure he helps me eat this. And so I'm going to pull out, I'm going to put in the chunks so he can just take whatever he doesn't want out. It's real easy with these chunks. Now on this juice, I am not going to throw this juice away. We're going to incorporate this back into our Jell-O salad. So I'm going to strain. The pineapple. And normally you'd use this whole can for a full batch. Since I'm making half a batch, I am just going to use half of these. So let's just take out. And this is I believe 11 ounce. No, this is a 20 ounce can, So I'm just putting about half of them in there. And you could leave them out altogether, but I love the juice in there, and I think Andy does too. And the flavor it adds is really good. But if you have people like I do that do not care for the texture of pineapple, just omit it. And so now we need to add, and that's our mandarin juice, and I'm not going to add that. So now we need to add some liquid to our Jell-O here. And in the regular recipe, let me grab my recipe. So in the regular recipe, we're going to add 1.5 cups of cold water and whatever juice you had with your pineapple. Since I'm doing half a batch, I've got a whole can of juice here, so I'm going to be taking and using 3/4 cup of water and then part of this juice. And we'll see what we think of the thickness then. And we can always add more liquid. So let me add 3/4 cup of water, and that's cold water. There's 3/4 cup. I am going to mix that together. And remember, those cranberries will help thicken it too. And then I'm going to add half of this juice. So far we've added 1/2 cup of water when we originally started, 3/4 cup, so that's 1 1/4 cups. And now I am going to add, looks like about 1/3 cup. And Jell-O, a single pack, you use 2 cups for a regular Jell-O. So I'm just making sure I don't go over 2 cups of the liquid. It's okay to have up to 2 because you also have those cranberries that are thickening it. Okay, so we just want to stir that together. That looks so good. And we are going to pour this mixture into our fruit. And this pan's still hot, so I'm going to grab my pot holder. Isn't that pretty? Get it all in there. Raspberry and cranberry taste so good together. And while I was talking to my mom on the phone, she said there had been years where she didn't have the raspberry gelatin or couldn't find it, and she would just go ahead and use like cherry. So that's an option too. So all of these fruits are going to absorb that sweet, tart juice. And I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of full size pecans, not chopped, just full size. You can do whatever you like, but we like to have them full. And a lot of times that they will kind of float to the top and it makes it look really pretty. And I'm just looking at the texture of it. I think I'm going to taste it and see if it tastes overly sweet, because I can always thin it down with a little bit of water. No, I think that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, and it's going to have to chill and thicken up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we take it out. I'll be right back. Here's our Jell-O salad after setting in the refrigerator overnight, and it is just absolutely delicious. I hope you get to try this. Now stick around, because after the recipe, Andy and I are going to be joining you down in our basement and giving you a pantry tour, showing you all the things that we have canned and on hand to enjoy until next year's garden season. Hey friends, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and today we are not in my kitchen. We are in our basement, and it's not a nice basement. It is a totally unfinished basement that is very, very old. Our home was built in the 1880s. It's a Victorian farmhouse, and I don't know if this was just a cellar at the time or if it was dug later. The walls are actually rocks, and then a plaster is put over it, and then somebody painted it this lovely aqua color. And the ceilings are not, I can touch the ceiling. They're not very high. They're all unfinished. We are down here today because we recently got a new furnace. And we've known we were going to get one for quite some time, and they finally came and put it in. And when they put it in, it changed everything in the configuration of things, and all the ductwork was changed. So we had to just pile everything up in corners so that we could get all of the new furnace and vents into the basement. So today's the day that we are going to reorganize, and we are going to get this to look decent again, or as decent as it can look. It is a perfect place for my pantry items, but it's not a place where you want to stay for long. So let me turn you around here and just give you a tour of the before. Okay, so here's where you come down the basement. It's right in the middle of this area, and only a small portion of this house has a basement underneath it. The rest is crawl space. But here's our gigantic new furnace system. And so we have got that in, and now we've got to figure out how we want to put our shelves. We've got new spaces and new places to set it up. And so we've got to kind of figure out the best way to do that. So as you can see, we have our canned food, we have water, we have jars, we have old paint. Over here we have more canned food. And then this table, this workstation table, has a lot of the things that I've just recently canned, but we haven't put on the shelf because we knew we were getting this furnace, and we knew we were needing to be able to move all of this stuff out of the way. So we've got that. Of course, we've got old, I don't know if that was a water system, an old pump. And there's one of your crawl spaces, a water heater. But we are going to be straightening this up and making it usable and functional again. One thing my husband and sons have liked to have part of this basement to do some of their woodworking in the wintertime when it's cold, like for staining and stuff like that. And so we want to kind of have this area on this side for that. And I'd like to get all my canned goods and things over here. So this is the before picture. And after we get this straightened up, and I think my husband's going to be doing most of it because I'm going to be upstairs doing some videos on cooking for you. I will bring you back down and I will share with you what it looks like and show you some of the things that we've got on our shelves. A little bit of a pantry tour. So I hope you stick around and I'll see you back here soon. All right, so this has been several hours after I showed you the before pictures of our basement.
Fancy basement.
Fancy basement. And this guy right here, he has been working all day getting it all organized. So I just came down and took a look for the first time and it looks great. So we are going to go around and see how it looks and see what you guys think and give you a sampling of what we have on our pantry shelves. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we will show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is the one side of the basement. Remember, our basement is not over or under our entire house. Do you think this was probably like a cellar at one time and then they...
Yeah, possibly would be, but it is at one point, obviously, they poured concrete and everything, so...
Yeah, so the floors are more recent, you know, probably in the 50s, maybe, I'm guessing, because that's when I know that a family had moved in. The second family that owned this moved in at that time in the 1950s, and there was some updating done at that time. But as you can see behind Andy there, we have some crawl space that goes to other parts of the house, and sometimes Andy gets to be really lucky and go through that crawl space. And what was this thing over here, Andy?
That's the old water pump. They used to have, mostly up here we have rural water from reservoirs, but because the well water is not generally very good, but they had old sand filter, and that's part of the old pump system and sand filter that used to be here for their water supply.
So that's a kind of a neat thing down here. All right, so Andy's got his shop table that he had made a couple years ago, and we've got a couple of shelves. One of the shelves has some empty jars on it and just kind of some of the overflow of what he was cleaning today. If we look under the stairway, tell me what you got here.
Yeah, that's just an old shelf unit that was in the south or northeast corner there, and just put some of the paint and things like that would fit under the furnace. And our old furnace was a vertical furnace and went right down, clear down to the floor, and that was always an issue. If it can get water in here, it's not frequent that it does it, but it can. So we had to mount this one horizontally instead. So we've got some storage space underneath it now.
So we just keep our laundry detergent, some things that, you know, is fine for in a basement, some water bottles, things like that. And there's our dehumidifier right there, and some more extra water bottles. So how about we go over, so this side's the side that we are going to have as our food pantry area. And we do have a drainage source here that needs to be capped off, and this is where the air conditioner and our dehumidifier drain, so that will stay. But what do we got on this shelf here?
This is mostly fruit stuff, from jams and jellies and preserves. I think I'll catch most of it. Some pie filling, apple pie filling up over here. Apple sauce, or these rest of these on top.
They were the flavored and plain applesauce.
Yep.
And this is mostly the jellies. And then down at the bottom, I see some canned pears and peaches. And I think some pear honey and pear preserves. Lots of those things right there. Then we have a shelf to put some of the stuff that we continue to add to it. And these are the shelves that I had set up, and so there's labels on them. I need to take those off and relabel these new shelves now. At the bottom, what do we have down there? Is that juices?
Yes, that's the juice.
So we've got different kinds of juices down there. And
I did cut about 5.5 or 6 inches off each of these legs, so they weren't so tall, and they get there's a lot of weight on these. We get a bunch of quart jars on them, so a little more stable that way. These shelves seem to hold up pretty well, but we don't need it anyway, that kind of height, because we're putting quart jars in here. But we do have enough room. We can get the half-gallon ones in. If we need to squeeze them in, we have to turn them and tip them up. But you want to be sure you cut the big end off, not the end that's got the small end, because that has to go down there and fit into the base.
All right. And do you remember the weight these shelves?
It's quite a bit. I think they're 1,000 a rack, I think, so a couple 100 pounds a shelf or something.
And these are Home Depot, right?
Yeah.
And
I do. It's HDX, I think is the range. But they're probably could even still could probably put supports in the middle, because they do sag over time a little bit. Again, that's a lot of weight if you get all those quart jars.
I know a lot of people who store or can their food and preserve it. They put some kind of little edge around the
a lip on it,
so that like earthquakes and things like that, a natural disaster like that you wouldn't expect. We don't live too far. I mean, we live in Missouri, in the northern part of Missouri, and then the new Madrid. Yeah, and Hill. It's in the Boot Hill. So, I mean, it's a possibility that there could be an earthquake at some time. You know, we've had some small ones that some people claim that they were able to fill. So, I've seen people take like bungee cords and kind of go around the edges, you know, just hook them to these. So that's a possibility too, if we were concerned that we would lose all of our jars in the event of a earthquake or something. So that's something we'll have to keep in consideration. So I'm going to turn here, and then back here in this corner, it looks to me like salsas, and there's some green beans. The top we have some beans. Taco sauce, that's our taco sauce for this year. I don't know if I did a video of that. I have some tomatoes canned. There's some of our taco soup or vegetable soup, one or the other. More green beans, and this is why I didn't need to do too many green beans this year. I've got 2 shelves full. And then it gets a little dark back here. Let's see. We'll probably need to put another light, but I think we can see it okay. We've got more tomato sauces, more pickles, or salsas, and again, don't look at the tags because they need to be changed since we've moved them around. And then here's my potatoes down here, my canned potatoes. And we were just commenting about these potatoes earlier. I didn't can any this year because I have plenty for this year. But they are wonderful for soups. Just wonderful, and they stay nice and firm. And I think I did make sure that I canned mostly the waxier type of potatoes, like the red ones, and then some of the white ones that are a little more waxy. And then I have pickled peppers and stuff right there. Oh, let's see what this is.
Right over there.
I think we'll be okay. And then here is some pickled peppers. And this is the ones that I did with the lime. I tried that. I didn't do a video of it, but I tried it and it worked out real well. They're nice and crispy. And I had several of those.
Baked beans.
Yeah, baked beans up there. This is really good. This is pepper relish, and I didn't do a video on this either, but it's a really good, it's kind of a Harry and David copycat. It's got red peppers and just a little bit of tomato and then some sugar and stuff, and it's really, really good. Really good. Over here, let's see, we've got different pie fillings. We've got apples, we've got canned cherries, relishes, some coleslaw, lots of pickles. Let's see, I believe that right there is some pumpkin. Yeah, pumpkin that's been canned. I didn't can any this year because I prefer the frozen. And then we just have a few canned items that we had bought and just to have on the shelf in case of any kind of emergency or a shortage of any kind of food. And is that applesauce all down there too? So we got more applesauce down there. Yep, that's strawberry applesauce there. So different flavors. I think I've got a cinnamon applesauce, strawberry, blueberry, cherry, and raspberry. And then my onions have started to sprout. A few of the varieties have, and so I'm going to have to make some French onion soup to can, and I'll be making that real soon just to use up the onions that are not the long storage onions. I've chopped several up and put them in the freezer that I'll use those as well. And we've still got space on the shelves, so we'll be adding more stuff throughout the year. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of our pantry. Now we do also have a pantry upstairs. We have one that Andy had built, oh, it's been a couple of years ago now.
Yeah,
he kind of added on into the mud room. And so I'll give you a tour of that as well. And then we have just a kitchen pantry that has just the basic stuff in it that I guess 20 some odd years ago when we bought this house, yeah, we kind of added it from a space that was on the other side of the wall. So we now, I think, finally have plenty of storage space. And anyway. And at least our, well, I was going to say, we could have used more of this space when the boys were young, yep. Since we had more food needs. But this works fine for us. So you did a good job. So hope you enjoyed this. Again, I'll try to give you a little tour upstairs in the pantry, and then we'll close this video down. So thanks for watching. Okay, so this is our laundry room, and in our laundry room, the wall that this pantry is on is actually the wall that is going into our mud room. And so a couple of years ago, Andy put in a little bump out so that we could have some of our canned goods upstairs so we wouldn't have to go downstairs all the time to get some of our canned food. And so I try to keep a nice assortment of things up here, the things that we usually are using, and just keep it stocked up here. That way I don't have to be in the basement all that often unless I'm getting a special ingredient that I don't use that often. So I will show you what we've got. Let me see. So we just had a barn style door. This was actually let's see, he had gotten this one at a auction probably 20 years ago. It was a double French door to go outside, and so we just used one of those French doors. It was a brand new one, and he had gotten it dirt cheap. We just used one of those French doors to make this barn door, and I just put on it's not really etched glass. There is on the other side, there is a film that makes it frosted. That way you don't have to see what's in it, and it keeps it a little darker in my pantry. And then I just got a label off of the internet that said pantry and put that on. And so in our pantry, this is where we keep the stuff that we use quite often. You can see my cake mixes and muffin mix And then at the bottom we have our flour and our sugar, dried beans, oats, bread flour, things that we buy in bulk. And he just made these really sturdy shelves, and they go back pretty far. And then we keep like the big mixing bowls and storage containers and stuff up there. They take up quite a bit of room, so it's nice to have a big spot for them. But this is what we have upstairs, and so it makes it real nice that we don't have to always go downstairs. So, and of course it looks nice too, I think, for being in a room that people see quite often. So there is our upstairs pantry, and this is right off the kitchen, so it's real handy. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. And comment and share, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.